Welcome to the One Inside, an Internal Family Systems podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Sollenberger. On today's episode, I talk with Paul Neustadt about the wisdom of our parts. Hey everyone, I am so excited about this episode. Paul and I talk about a zillion different things. I give you a 9-point list, which just has like the highlights on the show notes. Paul is a lead trainer with the IFS Institute, and he just has so much to offer. I could feel my parts softening and just more self-energy just by being with him. I have so many favorite parts of this episode, but my most favorite is probably Paul's answer to the question that I like to ask at the end of each episode. If you weren't doing all that you do now, what would you do instead? Paul's answer might be my new life goal, my daily intention. I love it. I think it's fabulous, and I think it's so beautiful. If you want more information about the seminar that Paul runs, it's called Challenges of Applying IFS, Mastering the Basics. Shoot him an email. His email is in the show notes. It is a 8-month program, and he runs it once a year. I joined Twitter last week, and I would love for you to follow me, and I'll follow you back. I am IFS Tammy on Twitter, which is the same handle as Instagram, and I would love to hear from you. I hope everyone's taking care during this crazy, crazy time. I am so thankful for IFS and our wonderful community. I think it's helpful to remember that everyone, and I mean everyone, has a self. I know it's hard to imagine sometimes, some moments when you turn on the TV or when you get on social media, but it's true. And we have so much to offer. We have so much to offer each other. We have so much to offer the world. This episode is full of those offerings. Enjoy.
Hi there.
Hey. I'm glad you're outside.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to be outside, but I love being outside. Is like, it makes such a huge difference. It's like my whole being, my soul, my whole being just feels so nourished by being outside. So whenever I can be, I'd like to be.
Yeah. So I like to start with just asking where you are in the world. And since you're sitting outside, why don't you tell everybody where you are and what you see as you look around you?
Okay. Yeah. So this is like a favorite place for me to be because it's I'm very fortunate. I'm on the deck in the back of our house, and we have a very small yard, but our yard, behind our yard is a very steep hill filled with trees. So there's this woods, really tall trees. And so it's almost like being in the woods.
Because you don't live, do you live right outside of Boston? Is that right?
Yeah, I live in Lexington, so
Okay.
It's a suburb.
Okay.
When I'm on our deck, look, I don't feel like I'm in the suburbs. I feel like I'm, like in this wonderful little oasis of trees.
Yeah.
I love trees.
Yeah, there is something very soothing about being around trees. I'm going to jump to the third thing on the list about creating our own inner healing circle.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, as you're talking about the trees, and I was thinking about how when I also live around in the woods, and being around going for a walk. Like I took my little puppy for a walk this morning, and it just seems like it really settles me down. And so I guess I'm curious about, what does it mean to create your own inner healing circle? And yeah, can we talk about that?
Sure. I would love to talk about that. I'm glad you chose that, Tammy.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, where to start on that? I don't know. I guess what first comes to mind is I'm thinking of one client in particular who does have who's over time. It's been difficult for her to access self energy. one of the ways that I found she could access self energy was if I asked her to remember someone in her life who really cared about her.
Mm.
And she didn't have a lot. I mean, certainly not in her immediate family, but she had an aunt and she had two teachers who she felt really saw her, like saw who she was, appreciated who she was, and cared about her. She felt cared about by them. So when I asked her to bring them to mind and to imagine that they were here with her in the room, supporting her in this healing work she's doing, that was very powerful for her.
I love that. Yeah.
So
Wow.
so sometimes we invite those three people in her life.
Mm.
I invite her to feel them with her
Mm.
as she's doing something, and I think that really it makes a difference. It helps her access self energy.
Yeah.
Um, it's like it comes through. It's in her obviously, but it comes. That's her way of accessing it is through feeling the spirit of those three people.
I love that. That is such a good idea. And I think this is why I jumped there. Just so this makes sense, is that I was thinking about the trees and how the trees help me access self energy and how, like, this sounds kind of weird as I'm saying it, but inviting the trees to come in.
Yeah, no, that's not weird at all. That's
Okay.
wonderful. Why not the spirit of trees, of the trees that you love.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. Well, and I think that would be so helpful for people that can't access self or have so much self-criticism and self-hatred, those parts that are so big and feel like that's all of them. That to externalize and say, okay, I do remember an auntie, or I do remember a teacher, I do remember this person who was so caring and loving towards me. And that might make it easier to feel that because then it's not coming from their own system.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and this was supported. This idea was supported actually by some teaching by John McCransky, who's a Tibetan Buddhist teacher who did a couple workshops with Dick.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he has a whole practice. He called it's a Tibetan Buddhist practice called the Benefactor Practice,
Mm.
where you do exactly what I was talking about. You focus on the experience of being seen and cared
Mm.
about and valued, and you let yourself really dwell in that experience, like really feel into it and be with it.
Mm. Yeah,
So that kind of reinforced my own sense of that.
I
I
love
had
that.
this very powerful experience many years ago. I was already an IFS trainer. I was having a huge crisis in my job, huge crisis. I was fortunate because we were having a retreat for trainers, and so I went to that retreat and I shared what was going on in the trainer group, and I got so much loving support from that group. It was just so nourishing and sustaining. And so then after that, when I was back in the situation, I would call to mind sitting with that group of trainers, and they were my healing circle.
I love it. Um, so I have two thoughts about that. One is I want to know, because I don't know that I know this, how long you've been a trainer. And then my second thought is, well, I'm going to write it down so I remember. So tell everyone how long you've been a trainer.
Well, I don't even remember exactly. I think it's about 13 or 14 years, something like that.
How long have you been around the IFS world?
20 years.
Okay, this was my other thought. I have an inner circle of of like negative things. You know what I mean? Like I can recall, oh, remember when you made a mistake and everyone was mad at you, or remember when you messed up and no one forgave you and no one would count on you again, or something like that. Like, so it's like if I have those inner circles of, like, I remember this situation when my family was mad at me about this or that, doesn't it make sense that I could also invite in an inner circle of love and compassion and grace instead of like judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the other practice John McCransky has is feeling yourself surrounded by a field of loving energy. And in that field can be people who have inspired you, people who have been your teachers, someone, even if you don't have a personal relationship with them, but they've just been important in your life,
Yeah.
and you
Love
feel
that.
their energy and their support and their love in this
Mm.
loving energy field around you.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. I love that. I love that because, and I think that if people try that, they can realize that, okay, I can be sitting here by myself and I could either be imagining the criticism and negativity of other people and judgment, or I can be imagining the love and concern and care. I could do both. I could do either one. I have a choice here. I could do either one, and that's going to greatly affect my mood and my feeling and my body sitting here.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's another piece that's connected to this for me. And this actually has to do with uh, living in the United States in what I'm going to refer to as the dominant white culture, dominant white patriarchal culture.
Yeah.
And so one of my projects, my healing projects, is to notice and heal the ways I've been affected by living in that culture. And one of those ways is this sense of separation, of disconnection. Like I'm an individual, you know, dealing with my life by myself. I'm ultimately alone. And so one of the impacts that has is that when I'm struggling, when I'm having a hard time, I immediately believe it's all about me. This is my inadequacy. There's something wrong with me. That's how I automatically, what I automatically go to. I think that's part of living in this culture.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us carry that belief, that burden of thinking it's just about me because I'm a separate person and I should be able to cope with things on my own.
Yeah.
Like this notion of where we should be independent. I should
Yeah.
be able to cope with this all on my own. If I'm not, then there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so the healing circle for me counteracts that notion of being separate and I should do it all on my own. No, no, I am, working on telling myself my parts. No, no, it's not up to you to do all this by yourself,
Mm.
because it's not all about me. This is, we're all feeling this way. We're all struggling.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all feeling the impact of what we're living in, and we need each other. We need each other to heal.
What I'm imagining too, that as you're saying that, parts of me that are coming up that are like, but that keep me from doing that are parts that say, but then people will know. If I say I'm having a hard time, then people will look down on me, or people will know that I'm a fraud, or people will know I'm inadequate, or people will shun me and, oh, she doesn't have it together. So, I'll be judged.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Tammy. And I think that's very real because, because, we're all in that, we're all caught up in that, right? So,
Yeah.
so, so people will judge you. People will, if I am unable to be with my own sense of inadequacy, my own sense of insecurity, whatever it is, and then you come to me and show me yours, my immediate reaction is to push away because I need to push away my own, so I need to push away yours. I
Yeah.
judge
Right.
my own, so I'm going to judge yours. So yes, you will get that reaction from people who are still caught in that illusion.
Yeah, that's great. That's so great. That's so great because I think that I don't realize like when someone is that judgmental, I think that they I don't realize that they're also judging themselves that harshly.
Mm-hmm.
And that right that they have a part of them. So I think that wow, they must think, they must think I don't know. I think sometimes I don't realize that. I guess that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
me too, me too. Because if I'm caught up in that young part of me, uh, who feels like, or who's carrying that sense of it's about me, something wrong with me, and then I feel someone's judgment. Yeah, I'm just too caught up in, yeah, they're right. There is some, uh,
There is something wrong with me. Plus you're right. We're also thinking about ourselves, right? We're just thinking of ourselves. I'm not necessarily thinking of, oh, they're in a part or this is a part of them. I'm like, yeah, it's all about me. And yeah,
mhm.
that's great. What about, so I love that. I love the creating that inner circle also helps with this idea of we're not individual and it's not all about like the productivity and getting things done, all that stuff that our culture is has taught us.
Mhm. Right.
Our American culture, I think, mostly, right? American culture is all about like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to add, um, I think we need real live, not just people that we bring into internally, but like we have to be able to find people we can actually go to
Yeah.
and heal with also, um, and that's
Mhm.
not always easy. You know, when
Yeah.
I um, the IFS became that, provided that for me before I met other IFS therapists who were willing to own their parts. I didn't feel like I had that at all.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think that I was just as you're talking, I was thinking of this girl when I had my son and she would invite me over for play dates and I would go and I never felt good leaving. Like I always felt gross, like my body didn't feel good. You know what I mean? And then she'd invite me again and as part of me was like, well, you have to go because she's inviting you and it's polite. And then, I think it took me a while to be like, well, why would I spend time with someone that I just don't, I'm not really even sure what it is, but I just didn't feel good when I left. Like
Mhm.
my body was like, this is a no. This, and I'm sure she's lovely, but it was just such a no. And it's taking me some time to feel that. Like I don't need to be around people. I mean, sometimes we have to, whether it's our families, sometimes we're kind of stuck around people, but we could also have other people that we put in our lives that are like, yeah, this is like life-giving and
Yes. Yeah, I love that, Tammy. It makes me think of this wonderful teacher, Gabor Mate. Are you familiar with him?
mm-mm,
Oh,
no.
he's wonderful. He's wonderful. So,
Oh, yes, I do. I do, but I never know how to say his name.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, he has this whole thing about when the body says no.
Yes. Yes.
Like when we're not aware and in touch enough with our what's happening internally, finally at some point the body will just say no, and it shows us somehow. Maybe we get sick, something happens. The body will show us
Yeah.
that we are not paying attention to some no that's needing to be said.
I love that. I love that. I think that happens to me around really passive aggressive people or people that have passive aggressive parts because I often don't get it because I'm going to be like, la, 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 la. And then it'll be like 2 days later, I'll be like, wait, that person was actually being mean. But I can feel it in my body because I'll be like, la, 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 la. And then something will not feel right. And so it's taking me some time to realize that, like, oh, I might not know what it is. Which is fine with me. I might not get it. Like I might not get the insult or the dig. I might not get it, but I can feel it in my body that something feels off. Like something's all of a sudden a little bit weird. And I can feel that in my body even if it takes my mind a couple days to get. that I was being insulted.
Yeah, yeah. To me, that's another piece of living in this culture is that we're not raised to really listen to our bodies.
Yeah.
And it's taken me so long to be working with that. It's still, I'm still working on that, like really paying attention to my body and not just being annoyed with my body if my body is feeling uncomfortable, if there's some kind of uncomfortable feeling,
Mm,
not just getting frustrated because it's getting in my way, but like trying to tune in, like
mm,
what's going on, and maybe my body is trying to tell me something, and I'm just not, I haven't learned fully the language of my body yet.
mm. What practices help you do that? Like, what practices help you tune into your body?
I think one is just a meditation where I'm just listening. That's all I'm doing. I'm just focusing
Mm,
on what am I experiencing in my body. Just
okay.
taking some time to do that. And particularly if I'm not feeling so good,
Mm,
then just okay, let's just be with it. Just let's just sit with it and experience it and see what happens.
So I'm going to transition from that to this idea of tapping into our own wisdom as a therapist when we're triggered by clients. Because I think that I sometimes, so I'm curious what that means, but I'm thinking that we can use our bodies to realize when that happens too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, I guess what I want to say is that I don't think our goal as an IFS therapist is just to unblend all of our own parts so that we're just purely in self. I don't think that's what we're aiming to do.
I think that is so important because I feel like that was such my like that idea of like the goal of IFS is for me to be in self, whether I'm a therapist or not, for me to be in self all the time. Right? That's the goal for me to be unblended and in self all the time and walk around the world like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I have some perfectionist parts, like, okay, all the self all the time. Go.
Yeah, and it's actually not even a good model of perfection, really, because our parts are part of our aliveness. When they're hope unburdened as much as possible. They're part of our aliveness, part of our who we are, our essence. Are
Mm,
expressed through our parts. I believe our parts are really play an important role in our relationship with our clients. Our parts give us valuable information about our clients. So what we want is our parts to be self-led while we're with our clients, but not for them to disappear. So when a part of me is triggered by a client, there's a reason why that's happened. There's something going on, and initially I don't know. Is it just about me? Like did that is something the client is doing, some part of them, did they trigger something that's a memory that's about my life, or um, is it something actually I'm resonating with, right? There's something, my parts carry something, some similar pain, some similar experience as their parts, or am I being recruited by the client's parts to play a role in some drama, right? They're acting out some drama with me, and they've recruited some of my parts to play a role in that drama.
yeah, that's
So
great. Yeah.
those are some different things that could be happening.
Yeah.
If it's just about me, like something happened, and then maybe in that moment, if I can, it would be good for me to ask that part to wait. Like, and what I'll do often is I write it down on, I take some notes, and so I'll write down that part, and I'll get to you, and hopefully that part can wait. if it feels acknowledged by me.
Yeah.
But if it's not just about me, if it's about the client and what's happening between me and the client, then there's valuable information there that would be helpful for me to really listen to. Um, and but initially I might not realize it. Like initially I'm just like feeling annoyed, I'm feeling bored, I'm feeling like, how am I going to get through this hour? But if I really pay attention, so what I like to do, I like to use a pause. I like to say to a client when I notice that's happening, I like to say, okay, I'm going to ask us to take a pause right now. I'm going to ask you to just take some time and listen inside. Like, I want to take some time to slow things down and reflect on what's happened so far, what you've shared with me so far. So I want you to just notice what's happening inside. What are you feeling, thinking so far after what you've shared? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to listen inside and see how I'm responding to what you just shared. And so we're going to give ourselves a few minutes. Okay. So that's how I introduce it.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I actually give clients paper and a pen, although, in Zoom time, I'll just tell them to have it available, so that they can write some notes and then let me know what they came up with. Right.
That's
So
great. Yeah.
then I have my chance to go inside and listen to what's going on. Now, hopefully that I have enough time. Sometimes that's enough time for me, just that few minutes. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I've got to come back and listen after the session, because it's like more complicated.
Yeah.
There's like some, it's going to take me longer to really get to it. Um, but ultimately, what I believe is that my most triggered parts have some wisdom once they're connected to self energy.
Mm,
And so, first, I want to connect with them. I want to, help them feel listened to. I want to get what their initial reaction is. Um, what do they need from me? Is there more they need me to understand? But after I've witnessed that part, then I'm going to say to it, okay, what do you have to offer me about my client and my relationship with my client? I believe that question is calling, it's inviting the part to access more self energy. It's like I'm communicating. I know you have wisdom for me.
yeah. Yeah.
And just, am I trusting that? Am I believing that? Actually, I think it's like an invitation, and the invitation, my experience is that almost always works. Almost always there is some wisdom that comes about my client, about what's happening between us.
Yeah, that's great. I love that because I think that when you turn to a part and you say, "Hey, I'm here," you clearly want my attention. And so what wisdom do you have? I feel like my parts would be like, oh, "Yay, hi." And they'll calm down, they'll be so excited and then they'll share with me that the wisdom that they have. The other thing I was thinking is that I remember doing one of your workshops or one of your 6-week weekend Fridays.
Right,
I
that
think of what it
seminar.
was called. Yeah, the seminar. I'm like, what is that called? The seminar. I remember one of my big takeaways from your seminar was slow down. And when we think we slow down even more. And that idea, if I'm slow, then I can realize, okay, wait, what's happening inside of me? The biggest thing that comes up for me is when I start arguing, because I don't argue with people in my real life. So why would I start arguing with a client? So if I start arguing with a client, I'm like, okay, wait, what is this?
Right,
This is
exactly.
and is it a part of me, what is that a part of me, or is it a part of me being recruited by them, like you're saying? So then if we can be in this argument together, then that keeps them out of doing some work. Or,
Hmm.
what is that? But if I need to be slow in order to recognize what's happening in my body and notice, like, wait, we're arguing. That doesn't even feel like me when I do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to slow down, take a pause. I can go inside, they can go inside, and then we can reconnect. And wow, that would be so healing. I just think that would be so healing for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love what you just shared. The slowing down and the listening, and yeah.
Because I have parts that love to chat. I'm sure everyone is so surprised by that. But and so sometimes when my clients come in and they're like, "Oh, I went to this great restaurant," and especially with the beginning of COVID, I felt like I was chatting with a lot of my clients because we're just like so excited to see each other and yay. And so I had this part of me that was like, okay, this isn't. I needed to recognize that and slow things down. Okay, this is lovely, and maybe this is what a part of them needs. And so then they're triggering that part of me that's also wanting that like girlfriend time, but it's like this isn't girlfriend time. So, um, yeah.
So I'll just say one thing about that. I think for a lot of clients, that girlfriend time is probably really important because one of the things that you're communicating is we're two human beings. Ultimately, that's what we are. We're two human beings and we're in this together.
Mm,
And I think that's really important for clients to feel that. Like I'm not a lesser being because I'm the client. I think it's so easy to feel that in therapy.
mm,
I'm here because there's something wrong with me. You've got it all together. You're the therapist and you've got it all together. And I'm a lesser being than you because I need help. And when we just connect as two human beings, there's a sense of transcending the
mm.
roles, and like I see you as another human, ultimately as another human being,
Yeah,
just
I love
like me.
that. Yeah, I love that. That makes my parts feel happy. Okay, we didn't do anything wrong. Okay, whew, good. Okay, because I do like having girlfriend time. Tell me about, can we make a jump? I'll make another jump to the
Okay.
the gifts of our exiles. I'm doing a happy dance. I'm doing a happy dance with my shoulders, which you guys can't see.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
talk
So what's
about
make what's
them.
so what's making you happy about it?
What's making me, oh, that's such a good question. Okay, let me see. Why did I just do a happy dance? All right, let me check inside. Hold on. Okay, I think what's coming up is it's exciting to think about the gift, the gift that's on the other side of when I connect to the part of me. Let's say it this way, when I connect to the part of me that loves the chit chat and loves the girlfriend time, like there's nothing wrong with that part of me. But when I connect to that part, that could be potentially a protector, and that could potentially be protecting an exile who is wanting, okay, this is what just came up for me, is wanting to like dance and have like a fun dance party. But if I don't get that gift of having a fun dance party if I don't work with a protector. And so that's what I was just thinking of, is that I don't get to have the dance party if I don't do the work to get to the exile.
Mm, yeah,
Does that make
absolutely,
sense? Okay.
absolutely.
Because I
Yeah,
want to have the dance party, right? I don't want to be run. I have wonderful managers, but man, they can run me. And then if they're running me so hard, then I don't get to have a dance party.
yeah. And so let me ask a question for your managers. So I'm assuming that you manage Tammy's managers, that you work really, really hard, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, you've
We work
been
very hard.
you work very, very hard, and I'm guessing that you get. I mean, you do good things for Tammy. You really are helpful to her in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah. She needs to appreciate us a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. You deserve a lot of appreciation, and I wonder what would it be like for you if you part of that appreciation might even be that you got to dance sometimes. Like what if you could relax a little bit and, you could get to dance.
Two things. One, I will only dance if there's a timer, and so we know we can dance for a certain amount of time. I need boundaries around it. And the other thing is, I would only dance if we've gotten a couple things done.
Okay. Yeah. So 'cause you have a very strong sense of responsibility.
Yes, because Tammy can't be trusted because she'll go like la 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 la, let's walk down the street, la 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 la, the boys home, let's go for a bike ride. What are we doing? I don't know. And she'll be all
Yes.
flighty and we won't get anything done. As soon as she starts doing that, it's the end. The
Yeah.
end of the day.
So yes, my managers totally relate. They don't trust me either. They know that I can get distracted, and who knows what's going to happen if they're not on top of things. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So would you like it though if Tammy appreciates what you do, make sure that you know you get to still do what you need to do, and you don't have to work quite so hard. Like there are times where you get a break, you get to have some enjoyment.
Yes, I would like that. I would like that.
So
Because I feel like what happens is I like work hard all week and then I'm exhausted and then some things fell through the cracks this weekend because I was so exhausted. And if we could work together a little bit more, then maybe that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been
right.
so plumb tired this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. In order to sustain what you do, you need breaks. You need some enjoyment in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you would support Tammy actually in healing that young part of her that really wants to dance, you would benefit as well.
I like it.
So that's one piece of this. In other words, um, recruiting managers to see the possibility in approaching an exile. It's not just, um, oh my God, it's this horrible, scary, dangerous thing. And, we'll only trust you if, whatever,
Yeah.
we see that you're incredibly strong and compassionate and you can handle it, or you promise us we can jump in and interfere if we need to, or but how about if our managers see that there actually potentially is something good there. There's actually something good there.
Yeah. I like that, Paul. First of all, love the direct access. That feels so good. So thank you for doing that and just showing that to everyone. And I just also want to say it feels so good to be able to talk from a part like that. It feels fantastic. So I want to say that. It feels so good. Um, but yes, I love that. So thank you for doing the direct access. And also, I love that because, right, we're not just pushing the manager aside. Like, yes, I hear you. I hear that you have all this sense of responsibility. And so, point me to the exile, and then I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm just talking to the exile.
Yeah, right, right. That's not what we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love direct access. My parts love direct access. I have some parts who I have a hard time connecting with them internally, but if I give them a chance to just say what they want to say, they'll come right out and be very, they'll very honest. Like they'll say what they want to say, and what a relief it is. Like that they want to be heard, like
Mhm.
out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
They really want their own voice.
Yeah. And so will you do that? Like, will you be walking around your kitchen and being like, Paul, you're so stupid. You can't do anything right. Blah, 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 blah. Not that your parts say that to you, but
um, so I do like to talk out loud to myself. Um, I do it a lot with my therapist. I'll just tell her, I'm just gonna. My parts just want to talk,
yeah.
and um, and she's great with it. Yeah, and that it just seems to my system, it works really well to, consciously, name this part. I'm giving it the floor. Can say, and once it, and then when it's had its say, then I can respond to it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I love that it's a conscious, right? So it's kind of like it's like, okay, this happened to me, I think a week or so ago, where I was like I was walking and I was like, okay, this part of me, this sort of teenage part that wants to cuss a lot and was very angry, like I'm gonna give her the floor and I'm just gonna let her talk. And so it's not like I'm just saying it like I'm just mumbling to myself and I'm not aware that it's a part of me that's saying, oh, I'm saying, okay, here part, you can say what you want to say, I'm listening to you. So it's like you're talking, you're letting this part talk, but you're blended, but you're aware that you're being blended, that you are
Mm-hmm.
blended.
Yeah, yeah.
Did that make any sense? Yeah.
There are degrees of that, degrees of awareness, and like, so ideally, um, I'm the degree of blendedness is not so much that, I mean, there's a sense that I'm really listening. I'm really listening and taking in what this part is saying. There are times where I'm mostly blended and I just have this inkling of awareness. Like, I know I'm blended, but there's nothing I can do about it. This part is like so strongly present and inhabited me. I can just barely have the awareness that it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because that's actually really true about how it is, right? Like there's this degree of blendedness.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, so I keep trying to have a mindfulness practice of noticing when I'm blended, because I think we go, most of us go through our days most of the time being blended with parts. And so I have this goal of just more and more noticing when I'm blended, and just wanting to acknowledge my parts.
I love that. And that sounds like such a more effective. So here's my manager part. Oh, that's such a more effective goal than being in self all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's such a so it's just being aware of like, am I blended? How much am I blended? And just okay, I'm just aware of these parts. And the parts aren't bad. The parts can be also self-led too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So there are two other pieces I just wanted to share about that. One is when I'm witnessing someone's exile, one of the things that I've come to realize and notice is that oftentimes that exile is already showing qualities of their true nature. And I'll give you an example with one of my own exiles. So I was working with a part of me who carried this sense of fragility, like that I'm just like I'm so fragile I could fall apart so easily. I had a lot of shame about that for a long time, feeling how fragile I was. It was one of the ways in which I'm totally, effed up, is that I'm so fragile. So when I finally worked with this part, it was really a relief to realize, oh yeah, right, this is a part. This is a part who is carrying this sense of fragility, and I just sometimes get totally blended with it. Um, and so first, I had to unburden the shame of that experience, because it wasn't just that I was feeling fragile. I felt ashamed of feeling fragile.
Mm.
And then, and so while in the process of this, this part said to me, um, I know that you have made one of your life purposes to show people the potential for self-acceptance, which is true. I discovered that I could accept myself through IFS, and it's so powerful. I wanted other people to experience it. This part said to me, well, am I part of that?
Wow.
Are you going to accept me, or are you going to keep hiding me?
Wow.
And and so I it was like, oh my God, like here's this part who thinks it's fragile, and it's calling me on something. It's like
Mm.
challenging me. It's like it's got the nerve, the courage, to
Mm.
say, like, what about me? Are you, and so like it blew me away. Like
Yeah.
this, like
It
I'm
had the
seeing.
strength, right? It had the strength to
Yes,
do that.
yes. So I was able to reflect that back
Oh,
to that
okay.
part. So that's what I like to do when I notice an exile showing some quality that's, really positive. I like to invite the client. Either I'll say it, I'll say, "Wow, I'm noticing this part of you, this really young part, this part that feels so vulnerable. I'm noticing that it's got a lot of courage, or I'm noticing how honest it is,
Mm.
or I'm noticing that how much in touch it is with what it needs. That's so
Mm.
wonderful. This part actually knows what it needs. That's great. Particularly for clients who have trouble knowing what they need, right?
Yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of clients, like, I have no idea what I need. This part of you seems to know exactly what it needs.
yeah.
Isn't that wonderful that this
Mm.
part of you knows just what it needs? So I like to reflect that back in the process of witnessing. And what I find is that already is transformative for the exile, but also the client's whole system. To it, like, begins to shift the system's perception of this exile,
Mm. Wow.
and it just feels like it facilitates the whole healing, unburdening process.
Yeah, yeah.
Then, after the exile's been unburdened, well, as well, so in the invitation, first of all, the question I like to ask is, or what I'd like to invite the client to say to the exile is, now that you've let go of all that stuff, you can now take this time to really tune in to your true nature,
Mm.
tune into who you really are, who you were meant to be. So just take some deep breaths and just give yourself time to notice who you are, who you really are,
Mm.
what
Mm.
qualities you have. And if you want, you can also invite in other qualities that you would like to have.
I love that because that feels different as you say that. That feels different than invite in qualities that you'd like to have or invite in, something that you didn't get to have. That inviting in who you really are or notice who you really are, that has such a different feeling to it.
Absolutely, right? Like, because it's there. Those qualities are there. They just got hidden.
Right,
They
like
got
notice who I already am.
Yes, yeah, that just got hidden.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, and could you now reflect back to this young part of you, how you see them? What is it that you're seeing in them? What are these true qualities that you see in them? So I have them do that. And then I say, now I want to ask you to notice, what is the impact on you? What's the effect on you of really feel in your body? Like, feel, what is it like now to be
Mm.
more connected to this young part of you?
Mm.
How's it affecting you? It's an invitation to really fully integrate the part into your being,
Yeah.
and notice, like, how is that for you?
Yeah.
And then I'll say, so could you let this part know in what way who they are is really a gift for you?
Mm. And what's amazing about that is for a part who's been, exiled, like literally like pushed in the basement or pushed away, to have them see themselves as a gift to us and to feel like they're a gift and invite them in as a gift, like that's amazing. Like what an like how opposite that is.
Right, right. So that fragile part of me, when I, like, was noticing, well, what were the gifts that part was giving me? So one was actually noticing its inner strength and courage, right? Like,
Yeah.
wow, I could use more of that.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
use more of it, what that part has, right?
Mm,
I can let that fill me, that sense that, yeah, this, what sometimes I might feel was missing, some quality I was
mm,
missing, some real strength and courage. Like, I can get that from because that's an aspect of my true nature that part
yes.
was holding, that now I'm reintegrating.
Wow.
And the other gift was the awareness that the experience of fragility is actually part of the human experience. It's part of being human.
Mm,
That there are times in the face of all that we're dealing with, and how it's affecting us, how it's coming at us, that we might feel fragile at times.
mm,
Like, this is more than I can handle. This could break me.
yeah.
Um,
And I'm guessing that feels different now, though. Like when you have that thought, does that feel different now that you've worked with
yes,
that? Okay.
absolutely. It feels like this is part of being human.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's not the shame around it.
Right.
Do you want to talk about relational heart-based activism, or is there something else you want to talk about?
So just briefly about that, I have most of my life had this sense that I needed to be pursuing social justice in some way. And it just seems like this deeply embedded thing in me, this need. It's a need, actually, to be doing that. I think some of it comes from my background, being Jewish. A commitment to social justice is part of the way I was raised. But anyway, I often felt when I would try to be part of groups that were trying, activist groups, um, that I couldn't sustain it. It was the experience was deadening. It felt like a deadening experience. It felt
Oh,
boring. It felt, I don't know. I just couldn't tolerate it. There was something about, and one of the things that was missing were relationships. Like real a deep emotional connection to the people I was in these groups with. Like people were not paying attention to the need for us to um, have nourishing relationships while we were doing this.
yeah.
And so I guess what I came to, um, through my own healing and through IFS was to realize that I can only sustain anything really if there's some relational piece there, and my heart is able to be there, you know in it, in the activity. It's coming from my heart,
Mm,
not coming from I have to do this, not coming from a should, not coming from a manager with a sense of responsibility, but it's coming from someplace in my heart that I'm in touch with, that my heart is telling me this is what we need to do, this is what we want to do, and that it's okay to be wanting there to be something nourishing and sustaining relationally in whatever that is.
mm.
So that's really what I look for now, is opportunities to be an activist in context where that's possible.
Yeah, I love that. And that also just makes sense that it's like, yeah, I would love to go, if I went to a rally, then I would feel better going to a rally with a friend that I felt connected with, and we would go together or meet someone there. Or, if I do any sort of group, then I want to be friendly and connected to these people that deepens my group experience
Mm-hmm.
for
Right.
sure. Yeah. Well, and so many people are doing that right now, right? It's like, what can I be involved in? What can I do? How can I make a difference? And it can feel very urgent. And then you don't want to have that urgency and then go to a meeting or go to a thing and then have it feel empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has to be something we can sustain over time.
Yeah. 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 And with that connection, with connection, and then with our heart being like it's like the body saying yes, like this is a
Mhm.
firm yes. And if I get that relational connection and that firm yes, then that makes it more sustainable for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one more thing that a part of me wants to share with you. And that is, I want to acknowledge there are times when self energy seems impossibly inaccessible for me. Impossibly accessible. It's like so inaccessible that I'm not even sure I remember what it is. And I certainly have no idea how to get there. It's like I'm blending. I don't I don't even remember how to do that. So I just want to own up to that, Tammy.
Ah,
It just feels
yes.
important to own up to that experience.
Yeah.
And that's another experience I've been ashamed of.
Oh.
But I want to own up to it as like, wait a minute, I don't think I'm the only one who has that experience sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. And so as you say that, it's funny that you say, well, it's not funny, but that you say that you feel shame about it, because I immediately felt more connected to you and more like softer towards you. I felt like my connection with you deepened a little bit more with you saying that. Because I'm like, yeah, of course, if you feel that way, you're a lead trainer and you run these workshops and you're a big deal. And so for you to say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes me feel that just, it feels so good. Like, wow, okay, okay. And I think it's so good that when there are times when you're like, I don't even know what unblending means. It feels, like, so good that there are other times that you do. Like, there are ti that do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. And so this is another example where rather than feeling like I have to figure this out, I can know that's a time when I need to turn to other people, in my life who can help me in
mm,
this place where I'm just lost. I'm
yeah,
lost, and other people can help me reconnect. I don't have to do it all by myself.
mm, I love that. Yeah, that's great. Paul, the last question I like to ask everybody is, if you weren't doing all the things that you're doing and you could do anything you wanted to do, what would you do?
One of the things that comes to mind is to just be a human being.
Mm,
And what that means to me is that I have the spaciousness in my life enough that I can react or respond spontaneously to whatever is just happening around me. You know, like there are all these opportunities for to just suddenly relate to another human being. If I'm not rushing from one thing to the next,
right.
or an opportunity to just notice things,
Mm,
like to notice some of the beauty around me. Um, just to be more present with whatever is in front of me. So that's really what most comes to mind is just that, is just to be more alive and open to whatever is happening in my life.
I love it. That's great. Paul, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time and hanging out with me today. This was great.
So Tammy, I do need to tell you, you are great at this. You are
Oh,
such a great interviewer.
thank you.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, you know, I just listened to an interview that Terry Gross did with someone, and I would take you over Terry Gross any day.
Thank you so much, Paul. That means so much to me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, you're
awesome.
really good at it.
Oh, thanks.
Been a pleasure.
Thanks for hanging out today. If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe. And if you really like this episode, share it with a friend and leave a review. You can follow me on Instagram at IFS Tammy and join our community on Facebook at the One Inside Podcast. Talk to you next time. Today's episode was sponsored by Brighter Vision. What's the point of having a beautiful website if it doesn't attract the clients you want to see? As the worldwide leaders of website design for therapists, Brighter Vision sees this issue happen way too often. A nice-looking website doesn't equate to a successful website. The truth is, your current website might even be turning off potential clients. That's where Brighter Vision comes in. Brighter Vision's team of website designers will create a website that is centered around attracting and retaining your ideal client so that you can have a nice-looking website as well as a successful one. Better yet, Brighter Vision is offering $100 off exclusively for listeners of the One Inside podcast. To take advantage of this offer, simply go to brightervision.com/inside. Again, that's brightervision.com/inside.